anywhere.
Howdy friends, my name is Percy James Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T. Acquaintances call me Percy. If you're a close friend, you can call me PW. Well, I mean, that's what they call me now. When I first got here, they called me Greenhorn. And at that particular time, I must admit the hat fit me well. I had more smarts between my head and my hat than I did inside of my head. But the good people of this town picked up my education where my schooling left off. I only went as far as the 8th grade, so needless to say I had a lot to learn. Not so much with books and all, I needed me some life lessons. So this story is not about how I got to the Lone Star Ranch, but more about how the Lone Star Ranch got to me. You see, my granddaddy used to have an old saying, "You don't find what you're looking for until you stop looking, dummy." He always had to put dummy at the end. He didn't want to get too nice on you and get you feeling comfortable. Now, I was born and raised in the northwest of Texas. We had a farm handed down about 3 generations. Well, after some bad dry spells and some storms and twisters, the farm fell on some hard times and the bank was fast on our porch looking for the keys. Well, a shotgun perched on the windowsill kept them back a day or two. And then within that time, along came these 3 men in them fancy hats and them Dallas-type expensive suits. You know what I mean. Well, they made Daddy an offer. They'd buy the farm, and he works it. They'll pay off the loan and fix us up with some better equipment. Well, he bit and took the bait. He worked longer and harder for less money than he ever had before. And several years later, at age 53, he was rewarded with a gift certificate in pink to the unemployment office. Well, that was just more than he could bear. Sheriff found him dead on the side of the road, slumped over the wheel of his pickup truck. His old heart just gave out on him. So at a young age of 12, I took on as man of the family. I started looking up for work on local farms in the area, which were, of course, run and owned by them same varmints that led to my father's demise. But I had no choice. Then by the time I was about 18, my girlfriend came down with a touch of pregnancy, and we was married by age 19. So being that she's carrying my unborn child, I did not want to go the way of my father. So I started to have a look around and I thought to myself, I need to get on out of this area and find some place we could put down roots and call home someplace else. In Texas, of course. So what do you do when you're 19 years old and a dang fool? Well, you wake up the next morning after you had the idea, you throw your toolbox in the back of your pickup truck, have a good look around for the last time and cry your goodbyes, grab you a handful of beef jerky and some canteens of water, and head out on the road out of town. Dang, that old tailgate never did stay closed right. Now, I had a full tank of gas and enough money for 1 extra fill-up. And I reckon I had about 2 days worth of food between the jerky and my mama sneaking some fried chicken and biscuits in my bag when I wasn't looking. Now, I can go a little while, although cranky, without eating, but when the gas runs out, well, I guess that's going to be the pin in the map where I'm going to have to start looking for work. So, after the second tank of gas ran out along with my money, I came across this old gentleman in an old beat-up truck that pulled into the pump next to me and saw me holding my hand at my head and asked what I was doing here. Well, I told him the story, and one thing led to another, and I left my pickup truck down the filling station, and I was off back to his ranch with the promise of a bacon and egg breakfast and hopefully at least a day's work. Now, make no mistake about it, I'm not the type to be taking such offers from strangers. But I figured, well, I'm a young buck and he's kind of an old man. And heck, I'm out of money, out of gas, and out of options. So I thought it wise to accept his kindness. So as we pulled up onto the ranch and I saw this place glistening in the morning sun, something just woke up inside of me and said, "This is just meant to be, Percy, just meant to be." And I can smell that eggs and bacon as I was hitting the front door. So straight after breakfast, he went and put the other hands to work and said he gonna be gone a couple hours to show the greenhorn around, that being me. Now a lot sure has changed about the place since back then. You see, about 4 or 5 years ago, we had a pretty bad twister. We went decades without anything major. And then our luck ran out. And every time that old tail hit the ground, it would scrub 5 square miles clean. So our silos were gone, so we had to replace the silos, and we got ourselves some new sheds. And that was thanks to the insurance company helping us out with all this. Some of us here are not so fortunate as to have good insurance, so they lost their livelihoods. So the one thing that comes natural around here is we help people out. So any of the locals that have lost their livelihood, we try our best to give them positions here on the farm. Now Farmer McLeod, he's passed on a few years ago, but myself, his wife, and his son Jerry each own an equal portion of the ranch. Now old Jerry, he got a nickname we go by. We call him the Grizzly Bear. And I'll talk more about that later. But right now, I'm going to kind of give you a tour the way that he gave it to me, only we're going to do it a little bit more modern. We're going to use this here drone that my wife gave me a year ago for my birthday. I've just been itching for a reason to use it. Now, if ranching ain't your thing, you can always come on up here to the sawmill. They can always use a hand throwing logs, stacking wood, or running the deliveries. Over here to the right, this is a new addition. They got a carpenter he set up shop over here, and he builds beehives for the local beekeeper, Richardson Logging. They also make boards, and that's going to help rebuild the community. We also got a few good fishing holes around here. This here one's for the locals. Don't be getting caught down here if you're supposed to be working. And as you can see, it's stocked up pretty well with fish. The community and the county help us with that. We also got some good duck hunting around here if you're into that as well. Now this here one is for everybody, locals and vacationers alike. After the storm, the county even helped us out by putting in some white beach sand down here, seeing a lot of the soil was washed away. You got some good fishing down here. And if you're not a resident, you need a permit. And if you're caught without a permit, the game warden gonna bust your pole over his knee. So make sure you stop by the local city hall and get that taken care of first thing. And over here we got some nice picnic area and barbecue. And some trailers and tents that the locals own, and they rent them out to vacationers and passer-throughs. This is a good place to hold up while you're looking for work. Now this here one is owned by an old rattlesnake named Larry Cartwright, and that's his big old lake house. He's not here full time, but when he is here, he sits his big behind on that dock and he fishes it until there ain't no more fish. And that's how it is now. So old Cartwright, he owns the livestock dealer up over here yonder through these trees. You got to get up pretty early in the morning before he does if you want to squeeze a good deal out of that old rattlesnake. We'll talk more about him another time. Just mentioning his name gives me a headache. Just last year, they built this place here where we can get some compost, called the Black Cow. That used to be the Emerson farm. Twister took out most our filling stations, so they're new. But we got a few old grain mills around town, and they weathered the storm just fine. We got lucky. This here one is owned by the Bryant family. Fine people they are. And they even got a little spinnery. This is where we sell our wool during sheep shearing time. And we even got waffles, cool hats, and pizza. That's right, we're up with the times. This here is a biodiesel refinery. What ranchers we have left, we grow canola and make a lot of money selling it to this place, and they make us biofuel, and we can get it cheap too. So we got an equipment dealer down here, and the name on the sign says Case. But don't let that fool you. They'll handle just about anything. So if you special order something or need something worked on that ain't a case, they'll help you out just fine. Bunch of smart guys. And their neighbor is the Lone Star Farm Supply. You can get some fertilizer and your seeds down here. And they'll even take your hay and straw bales and pay you a fair price, that's for sure. So just over yonder, over this stand of trees, is our cattle ranch. And this here is our fishing hole. And you're welcome to join me out here on the dock sometime for a glass of sweet tea and fishing, so long as you're invited. But if we catch you just wandering around out here and we don't know you, you might just get a backside full of salt pellets from my rifle. The workday starts sometime before sunup, and it ends, well, sometime after sundown, depending on what we doing. But before sunup, we usually tend to the cattle. You got headlights on your tractor so you can get on in here just fine. And then as the first spark of light comes up over the hill, we get on out here and take care of the sheep. Feeding and maybe shearing when that time comes along. And then after that, we get on to taking care of the hogs. They need to be fed and watered 7 days a week, even on the Lord's Day. So our work week here is about 6 days. Aside from the hogs, there's church and Sunday, and we usually have barbecue afterwards. And then you get the 4th of July off, because we're proud Americans, so we celebrate the 4th of July. And we usually do that up at the lake that I showed you with the white sand. The entire community comes together for that one. So this here's another one of our new sheds, and it's chock full of new and some of our old equipment as well. So we got plenty to do around here for anybody bored looking for work. Plenty to go around. The only silaging we do around these parts is winter feed for our cattle. We don't have any kind of refinery to sell it off to. Vacation around here is usually getting out of the hot sheds and into an air-conditioned combine. I tell you what, it's paradise. This here's our little bit of town. It's just one main drag, and it's got everything we need on both sides. That's Billy Bob's house right there, and this one belongs to his mama. And this here's the diner. Now, this is a good place to start your day with some bacon and eggs, but it's also a good place to catch up on the latest news and updates about what's going on around town. You might even catch some information that you shouldn't be privy to, but that's the way small towns are. One such story, concerning the diner, was about our old friend that I just mentioned, Billy Bob. You see, he worked for Jerry, the Grizzly Bear. Well, we used to have an old boy in town. He go by the name DoughBoy. And not like the money dough. I'm talking like bread dough. Lumpy and pasty. Just joshing now. So anyway, DoughBoy used to be a wheelbarrow humper down the grain mill. And it didn't take him long and much sweat to roll down his back before he figured this ain't going to be his life's career. So one hot Texas afternoon, he took off his work gloves and threw them in that wheelbarrow, and he just walked on. And with some of that fast pencil bar mustache type fancy talk, he got himself some investors and secured him some money to open up a little ranch somewhere out in the northwest of Colorado, I think it is. I can't be sure to tell you the truth. But old Billy Bob had a hankering for a change of scenery. So he figured maybe he'd give the old DoughBoy ranch a try. But he wasn't inclined to tell Jerry. I guess he was scared of some confrontation or something or other, who knows. So one morning he packed up his truck, covered it up nice with a tarp, and started to proceed out of town. But the dang fool stopped at the diner to fill up on eggs and grits before he left on the road. Well, that was his fatal mistake. Seeing as how he didn't show up to work in the morning, old Grizzly jumped in his truck and came heading down the diner to see if anybody had saw old Billy Bob. And there he was. So to make a long story short, old Billy Bob's back on the ranch working happy as can be, and he's got a slight limp, but you can't even tell if he ain't looking for it. So on the other side of the street, we got your Stanley Cakery, we got your eyeglass place and a hardware shop and a garden center. You can get yourself a tan and an ice cream and a gold mine sandwich. And then we got the pawn shop, and they call themselves a treasure store. And then here's the real estate office, and they pretty busy these days. This is one such place right here that's been sitting empty ever since the twister scrub whatever was here before clean. Might be just the right opportunity for somebody such as yourself. If you got a few bucks and you're the right kind of folk, we'd be happy to have you. And then one of my old-time favorite haunts, Spunty's Extended Hot Dogs. I'll tell you what, best dog in town. Thanks to the twister, the railroad tracks were torn up, and now this road is his replacement. But the grain mill used to depend on that railroad something fierce. Well, the railroad decided it was more of a courtesy than a necessity to rebuild, so we rose to the occasion, and we decided we can haul all our goods to market on good old 18 wheels. We don't need them varmints. So if you're cruising through the town of Lone Star and you looking for work, well, right over yonder, behind Spunty's, you'll find your locker. And this is where you can deposit your fancy silk shirt and your Italian leather shoes and your attitude. Simple folk don't mean stupid folk. We just not all dramatic and complicated. And you ought to be the same. Yep, that's it, folks. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I sure enough to appreciate you coming by and jawing with me for a while. And I hope you come back again. I'll try to film some ranch work, and we'll have a little bit more chit-chatting too. So I think I hear Ma calling me for dinner, so I'm going to go ahead and head up to the house. So take care, y'all. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.